Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we've got a couple of phenomenal women here who've been through grief and loss, and they're also experts in it, but they've had their own personal experience. And we're going to talk about transforming sorrow into strength. And I love that idea, sorrow into strength, and the role of art in healing after a death.
Yeah, and they know something about this because they're both very involved in the art world and the therapy worlds. So I will introduce them. Sharon Strauss and Dr. Sarah Volman are both here. Hello, hello.
Hello and welcome.
And I will introduce Sharon first, give you a little bit about her background.
Okay.
Sharon Strauss is a board-certified and licensed clinical professional art therapist. She is the Associate Director of the Portland Institute.
With Bob Niemeyer.
Yes. And the author of Artful Grief, A Diary of Healing, written after the suicide of her 17-year-old daughter, Kristen. Sharon has an art therapy private practice and is the co-founder of the Kristen Rita Strauss Foundation. She does that with her husband, and they've raised over $2 million.
Wow, amazing.
Yes. Next, hello.
Hello.
Sharon, I almost called you Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Next to Sharon is her good friend. These two work together, Dr. Sarah Volman. Sarah is a registered board-certified art therapist and a licensed clinical social worker. Her sister died before she was born in a drowning accident at the age of 6. Sarah is a faculty member of the Portland Institute. She is the associate director of the Young Widowhood Project, and she maintains a private practice. And she is the author of Born into Loss, Shadows of a Deceased Sibling. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so great to have you guys on today, and we've known you all for a while in the world of grief, loss, and recovery. And I love the idea of transforming sorrow into strength, because I think that's something that both of you have done in your lives. And I know, how long ago was it that your daughter?
It's 24 years, October 11th of 2001. Yeah.
Right after 9/11, right? She was in New York City. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, she was a freshman at Parsons School of Design, so she had just started her freshman year. And it was 1 month after 9/11, and I think that affected her, and as well as many others in the city who took their lives over that time. But she was enormously talented, so gifted.
An artist like you, so you had a lot in common with her.
Yes, but she started to really struggle in January of her senior year. She was being treated for depression, but I really do think she had a bipolar illness. And, we thought we had done everything, that a parent could possibly do to take care of her with good doctors and, good care. And so we felt like she was ready to come to school, and, she died here in the city.
Wow. So, your husband's a psychologist, and you were in the world of art therapy at the time.
Yeah.
And she was the youngest of 3.
Right.
And the world was looking pretty good, and suddenly everything changed
Everything
for you.
changed for us, yeah. And as you said, I was an art therapist beforehand. My husband and I gravitated towards traditional talk therapy in that first year, and we joined some survivors groups, and I think that took us, as far as we could go with talking about trauma. But I really realized that there was a lot that we were not talking about, and that's where the creative process, came to me. And it was really about a year into my journey, and I just was so hopeless. It was Christmas time, and I just kind of turned off the lights in the kitchen and just was like, oh my God, help me. Because after a year, I just felt like it should be better.
Right.
I should be better, and it's really awful. And in that moment, this little voice said, well, why don't you make a collage? And I did.
And we will get into talking
Yes.
about those collages and art. Let's have you, Sarah, tell us a little bit about your sister and your journey.
Yes, thank you. So as you mentioned, I have a sister who, her name was Julie. She was 6 years old, and she died by drowning. She was out swimming and with the family, and she drowned. So obviously that was a very sudden and terrible loss for my family, very shocking. She was a healthy, happy kid, and she suddenly died. And I was born about a year and a half after she died. So for me, that loss has, it completely colored the landscape of my family, of who my family became, and then also who I became. So I know that, it's certainly not an accident that I was drawn to working in grief and loss, that I became a therapist who specializes in grief and loss, and that it's all really connected to that part of my story. So it's a very big part of my story and my identity.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you two get to know each other through the Portland Institute? And did you do your art training there, or?
No, so I'm an art therapist. I got my degree many years ago. Sharon and I, it's actually a very fun story how we met.
That's a great story.
Which is that we were at a conference, and I was presenting a day-long workshop about doll making for bereaved people. And Sharon came to my workshop, and we had a really lovely connection.
Loved it.
So we were, and I was, we really liked each other. We exchanged information. And the next day I walked into the workshop I had signed up for, and I had signed up for her day-long workshop about collage with trauma. And we just looked at each other, and that same day I was talking and I was telling her about planning a presentation at ADEC, and she said, let's present together. And we just started our work together. Soon she invited me to come do some work with her at TAPS, and the rest is all history.
So the Association of Deaf Educators for our audience,
Right.
for people
Yes.
Who are in professionals, but other people can go. And then the other one is TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for the military, right, Heidi?
Yeah, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, and Sharon's been an integral part of TAPS and set up, well, you can tell more than I can, the rooms that you've set up there.
Right, open art studios over weekends. Yeah.
So I'm hearing two different things that you guys did early on. Now, you were an art therapist already. How did you get into the doll? And tell me about
I've been an art therapist. I graduated back in the 90s, so I've been an art therapist a long time, and I've been working in grief and loss a long time. And so I've seen the presentation I was giving about dolls is often people who are bereaved might be drawn to creating a doll. And one thing that's interesting, if we think about reconstructing meaning, is that what Sharon and I have both seen with dolls is and we leave it very open-ended for people to do whatever they wish. There's no wrong way to create in an art therapy setting. But often people might be drawn to creating a doll that represents the deceased, and that's often really about continuing bonds, right? And having this object that represents the deceased. And the other thing we see is that people also often create an image of self, which is also about the reconstruction of self after loss, because we know we're so changed after we have a significant death. And, often we have to redefine, who am I now after I've lost this person who was so important to me? So doll making has been something that I've offered for a long time as an art therapist for people who are grieving.
What kind of a doll, if you go in and do it, what kind of a doll would I have to get, or could I do this at home? Can I do a doll?
Well, Sharon and I usually buy these soft muslin dolls. There's different shapes and sizes, and we let people choose. We also, one thing that we feel really strongly about is that with all of our art therapy supplies, when we offer them to people, we want people to be able to see themselves in the art supplies. So we actually, unfortunately, a lot of the dolls you buy are often white. So we actually dye different dolls. So we have different skin tones of dolls.
Love this.
Sharon often uses coffee and tea. I'm more of a RIT dye person. So we both have our own techniques. And we bring the dolls in different skin tones. So we try to have different. So we really use an array of different dolls, and then people sometimes hand make dolls in different ways. We've had people weave together dolls, sometimes using the clothing of a loved one. They've woven together the body of a doll. So the sky is the limit, but we often offer these kind of cloth soft dolls to people that are about 12 inches
So you buy
tall.
them at an art supply place?
Yeah, and you can buy them on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
So
You can work on them, art supplies.
the doll that I created was a self-image. And I had never gone to a doll making workshop. And I thought, I really want to explore this, not only for myself, but I thought this would be a great modality to bring to my clients. So I did a doll that was a self-image, but what I did was I cut the chest open And this is what really drew me to Sarah. That she had the ability to hold the space for the depth of that kind of work. So I cut the chest open, and in the chest I placed one of the pieces of concrete that was at the site where Kristen died.
Oh, wow.
So you can feel the intensity of that, but the workshop gave me permission to go there. I placed that inside the chest and then sewed it up and put rhinestones around it.
Wow.
So that, I just knew from my experience and all the other dolls that were created in that workshop that, number one, I loved it as a modality, but I loved Sarah as a clinician and knew that I would want to collaborate with her.
And you also knew it was safe enough.
It was mutual.
Right, she created a space that was safe enough to allow you to even do that.
Right, to
have the courage to do that.
To have the wherewithal to ask myself, what do I want? What is my experience as a mother? Well, my experience as a mother is being sliced open. And what is in there? What is in that heart cavity? Is your heart still there? And to place in a piece of concrete where my child's body was found felt like a very powerful way to honor myself as a surviving mother.
What brought you to pick it up at the site?
We do strange things. We were taken to the site where she died, and the concrete was broken in half. And you're looking around and there are these chips and they've got stains on them, and that's your child's blood.
Wow.
As a mother, are you going to leave that there? No.
Well, this is interesting because I don't know if my mother remembers this, but we went to the site after where my brother was killed. It wasn't, right away. It was later. And they hadn't fully cleaned it up. And we found pieces of Levi jeans, like the buttons, the metal, some metal stuff, some pieces there, and we took them.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
I don't remember, but
We took them because we were like, there's pieces here of
my
clothing and
child.
things, and my
Yes.
brother and my cousin, because they died together.
Yeah.
We want to take these. We don't want to leave these here.
Right,
And we picked them up
Mm-hmm.
and took them.
That's what you
Yes.
I love the doll, putting him in a doll
Me
or
too.
something.
It's powerful and
Well,
it's so healing.
it was a sacred container.
Yes.
We've used, boxes, and, boxes are very traditional. But to put that within the body that represents yourself,
Yeah. Now,
It's
we
amazing.
are all in the field of grief and loss and recovery. So we don't say yuck when you say that.
right?
Right.
I am thinking that's part of the judgment. That's why it's so important, if people are listening to this, when you do really reveal yourself, you do need a space that can contain
Right.
that.
And I think that speaks to clinicians doing their deepest work. Like, you have to go there. You have to have been that one that had the courage to cut the body open and put something sacred in there, to know that territory, or you can't hold the space for others.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
And you-
speaks to us both. We're always doing that kind of deep inner work.
Yeah.
And I think there's the symbolic piece too, right? That to be left holding the scraps of Levi's or the pieces of concrete or these fragments, and symbolically, what does that say? I'm thinking now about one woman who came in to see us in the Open Art Studio who had lost her son to suicide. And she came in and she had a Ziploc bag full of scraps of his clothing, and she sat with me and explained, I had a quilt made with my kids' clothes, but there's these little pieces left. And again, she said, I don't know what to do with these pieces. And the symbolic statement, right, to sit with me and say, I'm left with these pieces and I don't know what to do with these pieces. And she ended up creating a box and wrapping the box with these pieces of the clothing, which was like swaddling, right? It was like, here it is, this mother who's lost her child. And it was like she was swaddling this box and wrapping it with these clothing. And then all of those pieces found their place, just like that they were given kind of a sacred place, and this thing that was formless was given form. And sometimes that's what can happen with art therapy.
What did you do with the things you found?
I don't remember. I just remember being like, wait a minute, they've left pieces of the
Yeah.
clothes. I need to take them with me.
I remember
Yes.
giving some weird things to his cousins, but like little buttons, and you're kind of crazy. What do you do with all these little things you have? So,
Yeah.
I'm loving this idea. So, born after a sister, what kind of art did you find? I mean, I'm kind of like thinking, what kind of art would you do for that?
Well, what's interesting is a few years ago I created, it's kind of a memory box about my sister. And this was interesting because for me, my sister was very present and it was talked about. In some ways for me it was a disenfranchised loss because there was a little piece about kind of, well, this happened before you were born, so surely this didn't impact you. So like how much space I could take or how much ownership of that loss was very complicated. And I never really had much that belonged to my sister. After my mom kind of moved into a senior living facility, she got rid of a lot of things, and there were some of my sister's little dresses that she was kind of throwing away.
Oh, wow.
And I took some of them, and it was interesting because she was throwing them away. I took them because I knew she was throwing away, but I didn't tell her. Like even then, it felt like kind of a taboo thing for me to take them, even though she was throwing them away. And I had a little bit of a quilt made, but like that mother, I had some pieces left, and I used some pieces in this memory box. But what was really interesting was I was sitting at my dining room table creating this memory box, and there were collage materials, et cetera, and this fabric, and it felt like I was doing this very taboo thing that here it is, I have these pieces of my sister's clothing that like, am I really allowed to have this? Am I really allowed to create this box? And for some reason I was drawn to, I thought I want to create and put a little bit of wax into this box. So I got these candles, and the only candles I could find were pink, which was actually interesting because we always brought pink flowers to the grave. So here I have these pink candles, and I end up lighting both of them. And here I am sitting at the table, and I have these two candles, and they're lit, and all of a sudden they're blazing. And I'm looking at the table, which is covered with these scraps of paper, and I thought, what came to my mind, my God, I am about to set the house on fire. And it was I kind of laughed, but it was also like, it was such a poignant moment that I thought, I am about, like, here I am actually doing this work that like I never felt really allowed to do. And I felt like this is all going to go up in flames. But I did create a very special box that I have now in my study, and I look at it, and it has a little bow from one of her dresses and different things that remind me of her inside the box.
I love that.
Yeah.
So sweet. Now, when are you? I want you to talk about your collages now, and how you started doing collaging, and how you.
Right, when it came to me, a year later to start to do some artwork, I heard that voice that said, why don't you make a collage? And I did, and just as Sarah worked with pieces of fabric, I was working with fragments of myself. I was working with paper that was torn. Even the torn edges had meaning, and trying to put myself back together. And the collage work really allowed me to go deep into those places that I didn't talk about. It was very hard to talk about the details of her death, her suicide, her body, questions about my identity. Who am I that I could investigate the spiritual dimension? So over years, really, and even it's a practice now. I still am doing collages that speak to what's happening in my life now.
So if you ever get frustrated about something,
yeah,
you
go and get
create
a
collage.
magazine. Go get some magazines and just see what comes to me. What are my associations when I look at those images? What feeling states can I work with? That just really release what's in my body.
Now, when we say collage, we're assuming that our audience knows what that word means.
Yeah, bits and
what
pieces.
does it mean? You take a piece of paper and cut
Yeah.
other pieces of paper and glue it.
Yeah, usually I will work on, like 8 by 10. You can use construction paper. That's, very simple. Open a magazine. I have to say, lots of magazines, so magazines that have a lot of images, and then just start to turn the pages. I always come with the intention for healing. and allowing whatever needs and wants to move through me and onto the page. I'm going to just be present to that. You know, you look at an image and you go, oh, you know, you have some kind of like negative reaction that has some meaning, and you think, oh, no, I can't put that out. Well, actually, yes, that's probably the best picture to work with. You know, have courage, you know, put it out, because none of it's going in the museum. It's your personal work, and you find yourself in that process, working with your bits and pieces and gluing them down.
Now, when I do stuff sometimes and ask other people to look at it, I expect them to be amazed, and they're not. And so, is that okay?
It's okay, because it's our inner work, and you know, you can have 10 people in a room all doing collage work, and every picture and image is going to be different. You know, it's going to be a reflection of your way of doing it, and there's no wrong way to do a collage. And I think the most important thing is you show up and you're present and you're willing to engage some materials that take you out of yourself, and your unconscious shows up. It just pours itself out, and there you are.
I like this because you don't have to be an artist.
You don't have to be an artist. All you know all you need to know how to do is open a magazine.
Collage is one of the friendliest modalities for that reason.
Yeah.
Anyone can really take a magazine and choose a few images and put them together. So it's very accessible.
Are there any more accessible things that you like, Sarah? Or
People constantly surprise us with the things that they put together, the compositions, even the materials that they end up choosing and putting together can be very surprising. So, you know, doll making can be, some people create very elaborate dolls, some people create very simple dolls. I've created dolls with kids as little as 3-year-olds who take a marker and scribble on it and draw a face, and, you know, and those can be very meaningful too, right? So, people can approach the art materials from wherever they are and in whatever way, and that there's no wrong way.
and now, do you two like it better in groups with art or individually, or what's your thought about that?
I mean, I love both. They're both very different. We've done a lot of work together in groups. We've done a lot of open art therapy studio work together. And I love working in that group setting with Sharon. We've done some amazing work, and seeing people come together and the way people interact with each other. If you have a group of survivors, kind of the way they interact with their own art pieces with each other, the way they support each other, the way they share with us, and then maybe with other group members and help each other. It's very powerful.
Aren't you working now with people from the Ukraine?
Yes.
And you're working how, in groups, or what are you doing with?
Yes, so we are running groups with Ukrainian refugees, actually through an organization called Olga's List in Massachusetts. So a group of Ukrainian refugees in Massachusetts, and we set up our open art studio just like we always do. We are very, we're pretty particular with how we set it up because we care a lot. We have a lot. Like I said before, we want people to be able to see themselves in the supplies. We also want to have a certain richness of supplies so that people can really create and pull from a lot of things, because having different supplies can open doors for people. We even have a certain way that we set up the room that's very specific, that to try to have it be more inviting and more accessible for people. But we've been doing this work for a little while now with it's interesting. We've had to adapt it that we include whole families, because understandably, a lot of the refugees don't want to come in, just the parents and children don't want to be separated, which makes perfect sense, right? These are refugees' families who had to flee from the war, and we're seeing a lot of trauma in their imagery, and then a lot of connection to the home and missing home. They're creating they're very drawn to the Ukrainian supplies that we have. We've bought Ukrainian fabrics. Those are the first things to go, different things like that. What would you add?
We
Now, how often are you doing this?
We've hosted it over to, we're going to be doing it again hopefully in January, but we do kind of full weekends. We've done a couple weekends already, and we're going to do some more. So a few times a year.
I love that it's with the whole family.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
anything can be with the whole family.
Yeah, because, you know, most of the work that we've done together has been with adults. And so we really had to think that through, you know, to make sure that we had things that were, accessible for children, and we also weren't sure exactly what the ages were. But the idea of losing your home and your homeland, Sarah found these wonderful house shapes that you would construct, and so the idea of working with that kind of modality worked very well.
Now, where are you guys located, and do you do programs that people can go to?
I live in Massachusetts, so I'm connected to Olga's List that way. So all the clients of Olga's List can access us that way. I also have a private practice that's.
Are you online?
Yeah, people can Google me, Sarah
Okay, how
Vollmann, easy to find, SarahVollmann, 2 L's, 2 N's.
Okay, and you take private client?
I do. I do.
And how about you, Sharon?
You can find me through Portland Institute. You can also log on to my website, artfulgrief.com, and find me that way too. And my private practice is in Maryland.
It's
Yeah.
in Maryland, and you're not doing any online practice. But if you live, where do you live in Maryland? And because
In
people live
Baltimore.
around there. In Baltimore, if you're around the Baltimore area,
Yeah,
Sharon Dragel.
yeah.
And if you, what's your town?
I'm in Lexington, Massachusetts, so just the Boston area.
Okay, all right. So you two are available.
We are.
Fabulous.
I
Yes.
love it. I'm very interested in, for myself, doing this. You've piqued my interest. I've done some collage with Sharon, which has been powerful, I have to say. Really powerful.
Now, are you doing anything together at conferences coming up?
We're doing actually an open art studio with long-term survivors at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Their conference is coming into Baltimore in the summertime. So we're doing an open studio there.
And what's that name again?
AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
And we're
Okay.
probably going to be presenting at the Association for Death
Death.
Education and Counseling
Right.
in March about our work with Ukrainian refugees, actually.
And where is that?
Wonderful.
That's going to be held also in Baltimore. Everything's
Everything's
Good.
in
right
Baltimore
around
this
Sharon
year.
these
I'm
days.
excited.
The Association of Death Educators?
Yes.
You're talking about?
Yes, the
Yeah,
conference in
so
March.
that's going to be a great conference. It's their 50th anniversary, so you might
Yeah.
want to take a look at going to that.
Yes.
They are-
Watching the show.
So they're going to present. If you all are presenting, I will definitely be in your audience.
Please, please come.
Absolutely. We'll sign up. We'll have to sign up early. They're going to be busy.
Exactly.
Well, thank you guys for being on the show today. It's been amazing, and for all the work you do.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for such the creative way that you're working, because it is really powerful.
We love working together.
I can
too.
tell.
And people need to get your books and Portland Institute if they want to.
Yeah.
Right, they
Do
find
art
both of us
education,
there.
whatever.
We're both on that website.
Yeah.
Yep.
We want to thank everybody for joining us on this show today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.